So when buying a GPU as a creator, you don't want to make these mistakes. Let's go. Before you double tap your right thumb, let me tell you about the video sponsor, B&H. When you're looking for your next creator tools, I highly recommend you check out B&H and their wide range of products. Whether it's photo, audio, video, or PC Mac related products, especially when you're looking for a GPU for your PC build. And don't forget the deal zone where deals change daily and you might find some killer deals. B&H gives you the confidence of shopping with easy 30-day returns, award-winning customer service, and competitive prices. Spread the cost of products with B&H Paybu card that offers special financing and special tax saving on selected products. Check out B&H and the latest deals in the description below. So just a quick note over here, the GPU prices are going down, and I highly recommend you check out my other video that I made about the GPU prices and so on, and which shops you go for, and get some GPUs. But also I have made a few different guides of builds for different budgets. So we have the $1,000 PC build, $1,500 and $2,500 PC build on the channel. Now I highly recommend you go check them out, because now the prices for those builds are even lower, because I actually included the GPU prices in those builds when the GPU prices were much higher. So you actually get those builds either for less money, or you can go for some other upgrades. I highly recommend you check them out. I'm gonna leave them in the description below if you wanna, just create a PC for these types of budgets for you. For you? What's for you? For you. And feel free to use the affiliate links for the GPUs in the description below. The number one biggest mistake that creators, especially video creators, can make when buying a GPU is not buying your CPU with an iGPU. To think that my NVENC encoders inside my GPU are good enough for me is a big mistake, because the iGPUs are very, very good, and both of those things can work together. In fact, it's not the iGPU that's awesome inside the CPU, it's actually the media engines inside the iGPU that can accelerate your timeline, on video editing, playback on H.264 and 5 codecs. But completely another topic that I've made 2 separate videos on the channel. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go check them out, but I'm sure most of the people watching this already know what I'm talking about. Second biggest mistake people make is overspending on the GPU when they don't actually get any performance in return, especially photographers and some of the video editors as well. If you think that an RTX 3090 is a much better card than an RTX 3080 for a video editing workflow, or 3080 Ti, and you may be doing a little bit more simpler, project with not so many color grading effects on there, like Lumetri color on Premiere Pro, or just some color grading on DaVinci Resolve, then you might not need that high end of a graphics card, because the price you pay for those graphics cards is not the exact performance you're going to get in return. So if you look at like an RTX 3070 Ti and 3090, you're not going to get double the performance of 3090 from the RTX 3070 Ti in video editing performance. The same for photographers. If you haven't seen the video on the channel, the difference between the best and the worst card for photographers is probably maximum of 2% difference. So if photo editing is the only workflow you are doing, then having a high-end GPU really gives you zero performance. I can't say zero, it's marginal difference, but you don't notice the difference at all. But also underspending on the GPU when you actually need it. For example, some of the 3D work guys might want to opt out for a little bit of a lower CPU to get a better GPU if you know that your GPU can accelerate the rendering performance in your 3D workflow, for example Blender or Maya or something like that, where you can actually just let the graphics card render it. It's much better to get like a mid-range CPU, but then actually render everything on the GPU. So go for like a i7 12700K instead of a 12900K, and up for a little bit of a better GPU if you can. But generally in 3D workloads, especially in Blender or Maya or V-Ray or so on, the actual scaling of GPU power when going from 30, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 is very, very nice. It goes on very, very like linearly, almost linearly, not really perfectly linear, but it does scale very, very well. So if you're a 3D artist make sure that like most of your budget goes on the GPU, because that's going to be the biggest performance jump for you. Third mistake people make is overspending on the GPU cooling. For example, this over here is an RTX 3070 and it only has 2 fans, but you can get an RTX 3070 that has a massive heatsink, super long card that has 3 fans, but you're not actually getting any performance in return for that cooling. The card actually runs very nicely cooled even with the lesser coolers that cost less, and the overall GPU price is lower. So if you're looking at cards below 3070, including 3070 and below, then having a card that has just 2 fans is completely fine. 3070 is kind of in the borderline card, but 3060 Ti, 3060, 3050, do not buy a 3050 with 3 fans and a massive Aorus or TUF heatsink. You don't need that. You're gonna pay extra for that unless you want the design, but you're not gonna get any performance in return. You don't need that high of a cooling. Fourth mistake people make when buying GPUs is not comparing pricing. Whenever you buy GPUs, especially if you look at my videos and go through the links that I am providing you, most of the time when you click on the link, what happens is it's going to give you an option of 3 shops or a few different shops where you can click on the link and then it will take you to the same graphics card in all of the different shops. Make sure that you're buying the graphics card that has the lowest price, because sometimes there can be hundreds of dollars difference between the same graphics card, whether you buy it from Best Buy or B&H or Amazon or Newegg or whatever other shop. If you look at those links, click on all of them to make sure that you do get the best price for the graphics card you intend to buy. It's literally a few seconds to click on all of them, but it does make sure that you're not paying extra just because you went with Amazon, even though Newegg, for example, had the same card few $100s cheaper. Under the same mistake, I would also label the warranty and easiness of return. Now, whenever you buy graphics cards online, don't go for some random dodgy sites that offer the graphics card for a few $100s less or something, but has questionable returns and warranty and so on. Because as a creator, this is the worst headache you can have. If you just get a graphics card that's used and not new, this is a big pain in your backside, and you want to avoid that. So that's why the shops that I'm recommending through my links, you can trust them that they are very good at returning them. I either have had experience myself or they are one of the biggest retailers and they have very high reputation in doing that. So just something to bear in mind. When comparing the pricing, make sure that you do check the same card out as an Asus card as well. So if you're looking at 3070s, make sure you check out an RTX 3070 from Asus as well. Just because if you are a Creative Cloud user, Asus cards get a 1-month free membership of Creative Cloud. So if you already have that, you can deduct the price of the Creative Cloud membership from your monthly cost that you already have, meaning that the Asus card might be cheaper than the other competitors. So just worth putting that behind your ear. Fifth biggest mistake people make when buying GPUs is the GPU fit. Now make sure that the GPU fits inside your PC case, especially if you have a front rad, maybe even push and pull configuration, which makes the rad thickness, as you can see over here, very thick. Look at that. It's like a 3 inches thick rad section in the front over there. But if this was a smaller case, it might not fit. For example, my GPU test bench setup over there has the Deepcool CK560 white case, and because I'm running push-pull configurations of the radiator in front of the case, I wasn't able to fit all of the GPUs in there, and I had to remove the bottom fan from the front of the radiator just so I can fit the GPU in. So when you are buying the GPU, look at the length of the GPU and just measure your case, make sure that it fits inside your case. Sixth biggest mistake you can make when buying a GPU is having enough connectors on your PSU. Now, when you're buying a PSU on the box, it might say that it has 4 PCIe connectors or 3 or 2 PCIe connectors. But the biggest point over here is that the single cable from the PSU to your graphics card is rated at 150 watts power. Now, even if it has 2 slots, You don't want to slot this into the PSU and then 2 of these into an RTX 3080 or so on that pulls more than 150 watts through this cable. Whenever your graphics card has 2 or 3 slots of PCIe connectors on the graphics card, make sure that you use a separate cable for each of those slots. Now, the only difference I would say is some of the RTX 3070s or some of the lower end cards as well, but just bear in mind when you're calculating the wattage per actual slot on your graphics card, make sure that you're not pulling more than 150 watts from one of those PCIe cables from your PSU. So the listing might actually show that there is 3 or 4 PCIe connectors on your PSU, but it might not be enough because you want to make sure that there is enough PCIe connectors on the actual PSU slot, so you know that, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can put 4 PCIe connectors or 3 PCIe connectors for my graphics card. Just worth checking this out, especially if you're a high-end creator and run multiple graphics cards inside your system. Just as my side note, which I'm sure you already know, but make sure that your power supply is actually rated for enough power when, having the graphics card. So don't try to plug your 3090 into like a 550 watt power supply or something like that, even though you have enough connectors, but it might not be enough. 7th and last mistake people make when buying GPUs as their creative use is buying the GPUs used and not new. Now, whenever the GPU is used, you might get a good deal, and this is something you have to weigh out, and depending at which point your creative business is at, buying a used GPU might be a little bit of a gamble because you don't know how long this is gonna last, you don't know how this has been used, you don't know even if it works or if it actually is the same GPU it is advertised or labeled as. Some of the lower end graphics cards, you might get actually like a chipped or like a flashed BIOS that shows a higher end GPU. It is actually an absolute old graphics card that is not the advertised graphics card. So when buying used graphics cards, just really think about it if you do want to do that. If you're a creative professional, what you want to do is have as little headaches about your PC as possible, and buying used parts for that can be one of the headaches. So I would avoid that if I was you. Obviously, weigh the pros and cons up for this because sometimes you might get a used or open box GPU from eBay or somewhere places, but it's still a little bit of a gamble, but depends if you want to make that gamble or take that gamble. What's the right English grammar here? If you want to take that gamble. Anyway, if you want to know any more GPU buying mistakes, then check out the comment section below because some of the more advanced and experienced users on this channel will help you out in the comment section below or share your experience. So if you're one of them, let me know in the comment section below what other GPU mistakes you have made or you've heard of that people might make when buying one. I'll meet you in the comment section below. Thanks guys for watching. Likes if you enjoyed it, subs if you'd like to see more, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.